book out. He's a contributor at CNN. He's the author of a new book titled The Shadow President, The Truth About Mike Pence. Previously, he'd written a book called The Truth About Trump. His website, by the way, michaeldantonio.net, and you can tweet him at mbdantonio. And Michael, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
I loved your book. We do book reports during the breaks for our non-commercial affiliates, where I read 3 or 4 minutes from a book. And I did your book a couple of days ago. In fact, it was just playing for our TV affiliates as we were coming up to this live segment. I just think it's extraordinary. Just to start out, what is the truth about Mike Pence that we need to know? What, to rank them, what do you think are the most important truths?
Well, I think the most important thing for people to know right now is that Pence has spent his entire adult life positioning himself for the presidency. This spot he's in, one step away from the Oval Office, was actually something he imagined as his destiny, and in college he told friends that he believed that God wanted him to be president of the United States. So this is a long-term goal that he has. He's serving now really as president in waiting. And when people wonder, well, how can he stand silently by when President Trump says many things that he's previously condemned? And I actually think there are a lot of Trump policies that are not in Mike Pence's heart. It's because he has a long-term plan, and the long-term plan is to replace Trump as soon as possible.
Do you think that Mike Pence is working in the background to help Trump get impeached?
Oh, boy. That is the $64,000 question. I think that many of the leaks that people report these days are coming from either the vice president personally or his staff and allies around the country. He's out and about campaigning far more than the president is. Every week he goes to visit one or more sites and give a stump speech. And his network of political activists, which he's been building through a PAC, is much more developed and much stronger than the president's own network. And I don't know that he's necessarily actively undermining him, but when we talk to Pence's folks, they all say Mike will be ready. And what they mean is he'll be ready the day that Donald Trump either leaves office under his own steam or is forced out.
Yeah, interesting. The whole Mike Pence persona. Mike Pence started out as a talk show host, and I debated him some years ago here in Washington, D.C. at the Heritage Foundation, as I recall, and it was a remarkable experience. The guy he was really well prepared. He's very slick. He knows his talking points. And, whether it's true or not, he goes for it. And, winning is everything, it seems. To what extent is his kind of fawning Christianity actually Mike Pence versus the role he's playing to get himself where he thinks he's destined to be?
Well, your observation about Mike as a debater, and you're one of the few people I've encountered who knew that he was a radio talk show host, and he actually did TV too back in the day in Indiana.
Yeah.
He's very skilled. He put together this identity, and it was the religion first, and then a libertarian economic orientation. He's very much a creature of the Koch brothers and the DeVos family. And then the last thing is the bread and butter Republican issues like gun rights and this, he previously was against deficit spending and wanted a balanced budget. Trump has proven that doesn't really matter anymore in the Republican Party. So I think the religion is part of a package. We're not really free to say, well, he believes this sincerely or he doesn't believe it. But he identified when he was young that being part of the Christian right was going to help him in Indiana, which is a very red state and very evangelical, and he's made it part of his base, and that's what he brought with him. When Trump picked him to be his running mate, he brought along that huge group of Christian right voters.
If you go back to the letter exchanges between Thomas Jefferson and James Madison in the winter of 1787, after Madison sent Jefferson the first draft of the Constitution, which explicitly says that there will not be an official religion for the United States, Jefferson was very concerned that priests might end up being politicians, that people who were religiously inclined would seek and seize political power. And he openly mused about, might there be a way to avoid this or prevent this beyond simply informing people of the danger of it. Madison thought he was being paranoid. And Madison, of course, was a Christian. Jefferson was not. And Madison's response was, the real danger is the corruption of Christianity by government. And in fact, Madison's first veto of his presidency was vetoing a bill that would have turned the poorhouses in Washington, D.C., which were funded and from the George Washington administration, created by the federal government, funded by the federal government, that would have turned those poorhouses over to the churches to administer with federal funds. And Madison vetoed that, saying that this would set a precedent that would be destructive to the United States. He was concerned that the church was going to get corrupted by having access to political power or financial resources from the federal government. It looks to me, in retrospect, like both of them were right, and that Mike Pence is the poster boy for this. Your thoughts?
Well, you really have put your finger on a key issue. Both of them were right, and I think the Constitution, especially the separation of church and state, was devised to avoid both outcomes. Those who loved the church and valued its role, especially in private life, didn't want the government to have anything to do with it, and that actually was a very Baptist point of view, and it's why the Southern Baptist Convention, until the 1970s, was adamant about separation of church and state. And at the same time, people were worried that priests, as you described them, would get involved in government. And this is why JFK was asked over and over again about who would have the greater influence on him, the Pope or the American people, and he had to ultimately sign a statement saying that he is for the American people and will take no orders from the Vatican.
Right.
Flash forward now, we have in Pence a guy who thought he would be a priest when he was a young man, is very devoted to making Christianity the dominant stream in American social life, and actually has given speeches where he speaks wistfully of the days prior to the Declaration of Independence, when some colonies actually had state churches. He thinks that was a good idea.
Massachusetts in particular. I mean, that's why Ben Franklin fled to Pennsylvania when he was a young man. He was so horrified by it. So what do we do with this knowledge, Michael?
Well, I think we do what everyone's doing around the president. We stay focused. We announce what's going on. I think every day Trump gives us something to describe and identify and make sure that we understand, so that it goes into our calculus when it comes to voting. And I think with Mike Pence, the same is true. He has a right to all of his faith beliefs, and certainly I don't denigrate his style of religion. It's his to embrace. But we should know about it. We should know that he wants to roll back equality for gay Americans. He wants to roll back Roe v. Wade. He doesn't believe that there is such a thing as evolution, and he thinks that climate science is all false. So as long as we know this, and it informs us when we do our civic duty, I think that's all the obligation we have.
Seems like a great start. The book is The Shadow President, The Truth About Mike Pence, by Michael D'Antonio with Peter Eisner, and the website michaeldantonio.net, and you can tweet him at MBD'Antonio. Michael, thank you so much for dropping by today.
Thanks, Tom.
Great talking with you. Great book, and a great contribution. I'm looking forward to tracking down a copy of your book on Trump, too. Thank you so much. We'll be back.